Hello, everybody. My name is Bobby Lockwood. I played Rhydian in Wolfblood. This is the Always a Pack podcast.
Great to see you,
George?
man. Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. It's great to get this. It's great to get you on the podcast and talk to you. And we've already had Johnny on, and we had a really good interview with Johnny, and I really enjoyed doing that. So it's great to get Rhydian on, because we've got to get Jimmy. If there's Jimmy, we've got to get Rhydian on as well. So, yeah.
Johnny's great, man.
Oh yeah, I get on great with Johnny. It was great. It was great working and meeting with him. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's class. Thank you for having me, mate. Always a pleasure, and always nice to talk over and relive the Wolfblood days. So yeah, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate all the support and the love that still remains. That feels makes me feel warm and gushy inside, you know.
10 years later, Bob, as well. I know, 10 years this year, you literally would have stopped filming series 1 now if it was like, because did you start filming about March 2012 or something like that? And then
we always
about May or
finished
something.
At the end of May. My birthday fell on like the last weekend, which is right the end of May. So
you literally would have just stopped filming series 1 10 years ago then now, because 1st of June.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. Yeah, because my birthday was also sort of like a rap party, or my birthday was fell over the rap party. So on one of the years, like my brother and a bunch of my family sort of come up as well, so sort of come to the rap party, and it was really nice for me. So
well, if you're partying in Newcastle, you can't go wrong.
No. That's true. Yeah, had a very, very good time there.
I know. But yeah, anyway, Bob, we're going to talk a little bit about just what you've done like pre-Wolfblood. So, you know, like, and how you sort of started off acting in the first place. So where did it all start, Bob? When did you think I was going to be an actor, darling?
Oh, well, that was not really a decision I made, or not initially. My mum just remembers me just sort of dancing along to music really, really young, just reacting to it at like 3 years old, and just sort of said to my dad, I think I want to take him dancing. And my dad was like, okay, sure. Because my older brother plays hockey like my dad, and I guess sort of followed in more traditionally like boys' footsteps, I guess. And but I ended up chucking on a pair of ballet shoes and doing that, but I just loved it. And then from there, did dance shows. An agent came to see me, and ended up, she approached my mum actually at the end of a show and said, I want to represent Bobby for acting. And I was 5, and my mum was like, he's never acted before. She was like, it doesn't matter, he'll be great. And then and before I knew it, I was just sort of, my first ever audition was 101 Dalmatians, which I ended up getting the role of Patch.
So we've got to thank Linny Babes for getting the first role. And
my mum, it's one of her friends, so my mum was going to say no. Really? My mum was going to be like, yeah, because she was like, Bobby's too young to make a decision, and we want him to focus on school, and you know. And one of her friends, I think it was Marion, actually, was like, look, why not just say yeah? Like, you can always say no if an audition comes up. Like, you can control how much he's involved, so why not just say yes? And mum was like, oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and I mean, thank goodness she did. I'm very glad she did. Yeah,
that's
happy how things turned out.
Yeah, because didn't you say to us that like your mum you used to listen to music, and she used to see you like dancing away in the back of the car, and you're like,
she remembers the Right Said Fred, and my legs just pumping away, and she was like, you really. And even now sometimes because I move a lot anyway, I'm very fidgety.
Should you be the drummer, Bob?
Song on, that's it, or something. I've got like, well, I was always because I danced way loads more than I acted. I was a far better dancer than I was an actor when I was 16. I think, I stopped dancing about 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
That always the plan was to go on and go to dance college and sort of be a dancer. But then the acting just, I don't know, it was just happening more for me. And, I've always been one to sort of, I guess, just, I'm not sure it was me being lazy or me following my gut, maybe a mixture of the two, but it's just sort of, I've just sort of followed how it's happened and ended up acting. And now I have like a real passion for it. And I guess it's the same. I've always had a passion for performing. And before I guess I even knew what that was, as a kid, I just remember being on stage and dancing and just absolutely loving it and just living for those moments,
Yeah, because I seen, did you do the snowman when you were younger as well, Bob?
Yeah, I did.
I was heard that. And were you the boy? Were you the young boy in that? And did you sing in that?
No, it was it was all mimed. I think there was a boo. I think that's what we said. But then there was 3 of us boys, and we did one of the like winter runs.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's such a lovely play. I really like this.
Oh, it was amazing. It was so fun because we got taken up in the harness, sort of flown over the crowd, and it was a bit magical, man. It was really good time. That was a bit later on, so that was I was about 8 or 9 when I did that, I think.
Really. And because I was thinking, because if you did singing there, you'd be the whole triple threat there: singing, dancing, acting, full triple threat.
No, I was never a good singer, really. I mean, I love singing, and I sing quite a bit when I'm knocking about the house or on my own or whatever. And I love me a ballad. I'll sing my heart out, but
really, what music do you sort of like? What music do you sort of like?
Adele,
yeah,
80s.
All of it.
I used to listen to a lot of rap. So I mean, there's a few songs that you can put on, and I was still just like muscle memory, just absolutely know the words to.
I know.
But yeah, a lot of 80s soul, disco, stuff like that. But any kind of ballad, Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I love some power ballads from the 80s, like Bonnie Tyler, something like that,
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Something like that. It's great, yeah. I love power ballads, great. I've been going on a bit of like an 80s binge with music recently because I went to see Genesis. I went to see them at Newcastle, and then I went to see them for the last ever show that they did. They've been together since 1967, and then our last show at the O2 London, just in March this year, with Phil Collins and everyone. Absolutely.
How was it?
Honestly, Bob, one of the best concerts. The thing with Genesis is they really make like theatrical shows, like phenomenal lights and that. But then, Phil Collins, amazing singer and that. But shame he can't drum anymore because he had a terrible back injury in that, and he got a dislodged a few years ago. But yeah, great. And his son's the drummer now for Genesis, and Nick Collins was the drummer for the band. Yeah,
that's very cool.
And his son's like phenomenal drummer and that. But yeah, that was really good. So I was going on. Anyway, it's not an 80s bloody song podcast.
Good. I love it, mate. I think I started on a 80s binge one time and then never got out of it. And now, man. All that 80s pop and stuff as well. I just love that.
I know. So going back to what you said about getting the role of Patch, Bob. So what was that like? And it was sort of your first major sort of role, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's the first time I'd done anything. It was a really weird thing because I'd just be at school and then like at lunchtime, I'd go. My mum would pick me up, take me home. My mum used to make me chicken mayonnaise, cucumber sandwiches. It was amazing. I used to love that sandwich still to this day. And then
nostalgia sandwich.
Oh, 100%. And then and then we'd go up London and I'd record, in the studio for a few hours and then come home. And I did that it was almost like over a year. And people what was really weird is that a few years later, I remember chatting to a school friend and then being like, we didn't know you did that. And I was like, how did you not notice? I was just disappearing all the time. But I guess people just didn't because I don't know, at school, it's so young. I was 5, 6, 7, that kind of age. Or maybe 6, 7. I don't think I was 5. I don't know. But I just loved it. I just remember them sort of being like, right, we need to stop and take a break now. And I was like, why? Let's just carry on. And they were like, no, legally, you're a child. We have to take breaks. And I just remember being like, nah, I want to crack on. This is great fun.
Yeah. I can imagine being in like the recording booth and doing the voice acting and that. Did you really enjoy it?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I just remember really just having loads of fun. And then there was, because initially it was just me, and then towards the end where they'd redo bits, or they'd animated stuff and I had to do it to the animation, and I found that really fun. And my mum said she remembers one bit it's a part of the film when I'm sad or something, and I was there and I was just, you know, doing these lines, and Mum remembers looking at me being like, wow, she really thought I was crying and was really sad.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we cut, I was then like that thing, and she was like, oh, which is kind of interesting. I remember there's one scene I had to eat. This just really sticks out. I had to, in the scene, I'm eating sausages, so they just gave me a load of biscuits, and they was like, right, can you just eat a biscuit and then do the scene? And I just been like, yes, and just scoffing.
That stayed with you, that, because there was a few scenes in Wolfblood when you were like, well, scoffing that pizza or whatever, or some other things in that. It's like, it's just funny. It's like when I did that episode of Vera a while ago, Bob, when I was just supporting artists for it, but they just stuck us outside a shop in Jesmond in Newcastle, this lovely, really quite expensive coffee shop, and said, what do you want? They got us this slice of cake and a drink, and just said, sit there, eat that, and look like you enjoyed yourself. And that, and it's like, bloody hell, I'm getting paid for this, and I enjoyed that. So, yeah. Just,
the perks of the job, mate.
Perks of the job, yeah, definitely.
No, I mean, that is something that has stuck with me ever since I was a wee boy. Obviously, we need food to live, but you know, I'm never too far away from a fridge or any kind of cupboard. That's for sure.
You still got Rhydian's appetite for meeting all that stuff as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, if anything, Rhydian's got my appetite. There's been a few characters I've played where I've always had to eat. Yeah,
that's what you contributed to the role. You see, Bob, if the cast someone else, it wouldn't have had that.
That's it.
So anyway, Bob, did you do the? Did you go and see Billy Elliot? And when you were younger, you've told us before, and you said that really had an impact on sort of what you wanted to do when you were choosing your choices.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I really remember. It's all about choosing the theatre, but that's the first time I really remember, because I wanted to be a forensic scientist, because I loved CSI and I enjoyed. I guess I was like quite good at school, but I quite enjoyed school, to be honest. And I actually did better in science and maths than I did in sort of English or drama, and I loved the Billy Elliot film, and as a boy who danced, I like really just really related to it, and the whole just trying like following your passion and just cracking on with it, regardless of what other people think. And then
it's Julie Walters, isn't it? She's the dance teacher in the film, isn't there? And she's brilliant. She's such a good actress.
The whole film is cracking.
Yeah, I mean, she was been in so much, hasn't she? I mean, she went in. Well, she was in some great. I just mentioned Phil Collins before. She was in a great film in the 80s with Phil Collins, was an actor as well, but he also sings. And he was in Buster, and it was like a film about like the train robbery. The great train robbery in the 1960s, where they nicked so much money from the trains, and then she was Buster's wife in it, and it was like
really,
and then obviously did Billy Elliot, and then obviously the Harry Potter films as well. So she was like,
I mean, she's had an incredible
Mrs.
career.
Weasley's also. I can imagine that having an effect on you. And you went to go and see the stage show.
Well, I can't remember if it was for my birthday. It might have been for my birthday, or we went to see it, and I just remember watching Billy Elliot, seeing the boy on stage and just being like, I just want to be up there. I just want to be doing that. And it was right by the time picking my options for GCSE. So I would have been year 9.
Yeah.
And I chatted to one of my teachers, a science teacher, who was a forensic scientist and left it for teaching.
Oh.
And she said, to be honest, Bob, it's a lot of like home invasions that don't have any fingerprints, and that's about it. There's not loads to do. And I thought, actually, I have, because it was always a hobby, this thing I just did as a kid. I didn't realize that you could do it, I guess, professionally, or like make money out of it, or have like a career. That just wasn't something I really understood. And then I thought, you know what, maybe I actually do really enjoy this acting thing. Maybe I should try that. And then went to Billy Elliot, saw him perform, and just thought, I want to do that. I want to be that. That's what I want to do. And obviously he was like, it wasn't even so much the acting, it was just the dancing and being on stage. So then decided just to pursue that. But that was definitely not necessarily a sliding doors moment, but quite a poignant time. I just remember it being a decision of being like, okay, I'm going to give this a crack. And
and then obviously you went on, you studied drama, and then you said you before you went to college, and then you sort of fell out of love a bit with college.
So like I said, I always sort of did all right at school, or got on okay at school. I think my parents always said that if I ever was bad at school, I couldn't do the acting, because obviously you have to get permission to have time off.
Yeah.
So that was always something that I was terrified of. Like if I was ever in trouble, because I have no qualms. I was a goody two shoes at school, like proper, or boffin, or whatever they call it these days.
No knocking people out in the corridor or anything like that.
Like I was a senior prefect, and
God, I was a prefect in secondary school as well. Actually.
Yeah, man.
I like to wipe the memories from my mind anyway. I could just brush over.
I quite enjoyed it, to be fair. It was always quite, I don't know. I didn't mind. I just always happy to chat to people, any excuse.
Yeah.
But so school was cool. And then the plan was to go to, I guess, a dance, maybe a drama college when I would have been like 18, like university age. So then I went to college to do my A-levels, did dance, drama, PE and psychology, and ended up going for a bunch of auditions, sort of missing some classes. And the person who had an issue with it was my drama tutor, because she was like, you can't keep just missing my lessons to go to auditions. I was like, but there's people missing lessons. Like, one, you don't have to legally come. Yeah, so like school. And I was like, you've got people bunking off to, like, I don't know, do whatever they're doing. Like, I've actually got
probably.
I've got a reason, and you're my drama teacher. I should be able to speak to you. And she just I don't know, we didn't see eye to eye. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. And decided that, and it's the first time, I guess, sort of started rebelling as well. I guess I had sort of my brother's ID, even though I was 16. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and have fun and do this stuff. And then ended up booking House of Anubis. So, because my parents, not that they were worried, but I think when I got Anubis, they're a bit like, oh, okay, maybe this is actually fine. Because my parents are, I guess, somewhat slightly traditional and would have wanted me to get my qualifications, because I ended up doing like really badly at college, because it's definitely a step up in like difficulty, and the work required from you to get A-levels is like,
oh yeah, I know, because I've had to
way bigger.
All of it. And then it's like A-levels was well, the first year was all right for me, but the second year was like pulling teeth. But obviously I managed to get to university fine, but it was still wasn't. Yeah, it is very hard A-level.
Yeah, I just tried to coast in the same way I did at school, and failed spectacularly. But yeah, ended up doing House of Anubis, and then that was incredible. I did that for a season and a bit.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, that's its own kettle of fish.
Because I know, I know there's a House of Anubis podcast, isn't it? You did an episode on.
I have, yeah,
a while ago.
Alex.
Yeah. So that was good, and that was what I was going to say to you, Bob. I mean, it was on it started in 2011. Anubis, didn't it? And you still see now, like on Instagram or Twitter or stuff, there's still like so many fans. And what I noticed is like, because they're sorted abroad, there's like so many like Russian fans and American fans
all over, loads of Brazil. It's really weird to have been part of Anubis and of Wolfblood, because they're two shows that really went like international.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool. But I remember just wanting. Well, it's interesting because with Anubis, so I did the first season, and then the second season they like cut my part massively, and then eventually cut me entirely. But and obviously at the time I was heartbroken, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Oh no, because I never had, I didn't have the most I want to say the biggest belief in myself anyway, I guess, or like the most self-esteem. And then, so that was definitely like, oh no. But then, because that happened, I then ended up getting Wolfblood, because there's no way they would have got me in for Wolfblood if I didn't, if I was still doing Anubis. So, and I couldn't, I'm so happy that it happened. And now I definitely, because there's a few things I've been cut from, a few things, or like jobs I've been cut from. Well, it does suck, but now I'm very much sweet. It's obviously not meant for me, and every time I've been cut from something, there's been a positive around the corner. I've ended up being able to do something else, or something's happened for it. So now I just absolutely just trust in the way things play out. I don't obviously, a bit gutted. Oh, that would have been fun, but I just trust in the idea that a door's closing because a better one is opening.
And Bob, when did you realise that Louisa, because obviously Louisa, what was Willow in House of Anubis, when did you realise that she was cast as Shannon in Wolfblood?
Well, no, so she was in Wolfblood first. So
in total there was
there was three. I think there was 3 series of Anubis, maybe 4. I can't quite remember, or maybe they did a little film.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure, but we did. So I did the first series and then a bit of the second series, and then got cast in Wolfblood. And it was during, so it would have been during the first season of Wolfblood. She was like, I'm auditioning for the show called House of Anubis. And I was like, oh my God. So then obviously spoke to her loads and put her in touch with a few of the guys. And then it was, late. So she was, during series 1, she was auditioning for it. And then she got cast in series 3 of Anubis. Which is so weird because, we both have these like crossover. It's just so bizarre.
It is weird, isn't it? And especially at the same time. But yeah, I never managed to watch much of Anubis because, my mum wouldn't pay for Nickelodeon, so I'm stuck with CBBC. But yeah, it was. But I didn't get it. I've watched bits of it, but I haven't. I don't know. People say what's Mick apparently loves bananas. That's a fact.
Well,
you always eat the banana.
Mick was a huge eater. I mean, God.
Oh, there we
Mick
go. It's carried on.
Mate, 100%. It's so crazy because Mick ate loads, and then Rhydian also ate loads, and it's just, I don't know if it's me, if it's the characters that who knows, but very fun. I remember having we had lunch, and then the scene after lunch was like a breakfast scene, and I ended up eating 5 bowls of cereal after lunch. I put on 2 stone during the first season of Anubis. Just crazy. Well, it was, I think, a mixture of, you know how like when people go to uni the first year, or they tend to put on a bit of weight first time away from home,
because you're like convenience food, isn't it?
100%. So it's almost like my university. I went away, so I stopped all my dancing, stopped all the exercising that I was doing. Suddenly was just having to eat and provide for myself, plus on-set catering. I mean, for breakfast I would have like 4 sausages, 5 bits of bacon.
They give you full of English.
Mate, it was a buffet, and like I said, I'll just smash food. I remember going to costume one day and being like, have my trousers shrunk? And they were like, we don't think so. And I just didn't piece together that I was the one putting on weight. It's only when I got home and I tried on some other clothes that I sort of hadn't taken with me, and I went, wait, these don't fit. Oh, this is weird. And then it was my agent at the time was a bit like, Bobby, so you've been enjoying yourself? I was like, oh gosh, I have, haven't I? Yeah, I have. Which is funny. And then they asked me to lose weight for the second series because Mick was supposed to be like the jock. He's supposed to be like the sporty one, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But funny times.
Funny times, Bob, isn't it? But there we go. So Bob, what sort of happened? Obviously, like we said, you got cut from that. So the sort of leap over to Wolfblood, what happened? And your sort of audition process?
Well, at the time, I remember I'd been cut from Anubis. I wasn't getting many auditions. I remember I was close to getting, I say close. I was part of a sort of chemistry read thing. So I guess close enough for,
was it was like Wizard versus Aliens?
Wizards versus Aliens,
I remember you mentioning that in another podcast.
Yeah. And I was sort of close-ish to getting that. I was in the mix anyway. And when I didn't get it, I was really gutted. And I was like, oh man, I really wanted that job. That would have been so cool to do another show. And then I was going to go see my friend Quibs, shout out, at university. And then I got this email through, and it was like the audition's tomorrow. It's really last minute for this guy, and then it starts shooting. That was on a Monday. The audition was on the Tuesday, and it was like it starts shooting next Monday. And I remember receiving this email, reading it, and instantly just being like, "Oh my god, this is it! This is yes, okay, yes, and sweet." And it was as if like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. There's been a few times I've had that when I've started reading it, and immediately I know it all just sort of come like,
it felt like a strong connection.
Absolutely right. Yeah, just from the off. And sometimes that there's been a few times now that's happened and nothing has ever turned out and the audition's actually been rubbish. But I remember at the time that feeling this so strongly, and I just called up my mate. I was like, look, I haven't had this is an opportunity. I need to stay here and do this properly. I can't come up. And he obviously was really understanding. I've got his wedding. I'm one of his groomsmen like next month.
Yeah, cheers,
very excited. Yeah, cheers, Chris, man. So yeah, and then stayed home, and it was weird because
Yeah. And what was the audition?
Remember,
What was the audition like, Bob? What can you remember? What happened?
the scenes were, because they called me in on the Tuesday afternoon, and I knew there were recalls that evening.
Was this
So
in
I knew
London?
that if it was, yeah.
Where did
and
you?
I knew so
yeah.
if the audition was good, I was going to come back. And I remember on the Monday night, because it's weird. I just sort of, I think my this is funny. Basically, my brother had a friend over, so I just knew, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stay in my room, and I ended up just getting my book out and sort of making a load of notes. And I remember like drawing pictures of like I don't know, I just sort of just ended up doodling for hours, and like, and I don't normally, I guess, prepare in that way, or I didn't at the time for sure, and ended up just writing a bunch of stuff, sort of like a diary, and just.
Really, can you remember? So you sort of made like a journal for like what Rhydian's journal or diary would have been.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and I just sort of wrote out, I guess, I can't remember if it was to do with his life or how he got there or how he was feeling. I just remember jotting down a load of just sort of stuff and ended up just sort of doodling, and it just really came to like, because sometimes there's different, I've found anyway, there's different ways to like connect with a character. And for me, the one thing that I remember about Rhydian is just that we've drawn sometimes, because I guess I'm quite outgoing. I'm quite comfortable speaking to people most of the time, but obviously there's certain times when I can become shy and withdrawn. And I just remember focusing on that feeling and being like, oh, I think I need to play that. I need to lean into like that side. And that was how I guess, connected with him. And the scenes in the audition, I think it might have even been the waterfall scene, which I know you like.
I love that.
It might have been that one from episode 1. And it might have maybe also been after after a change in the photography room. It was one of those scenes, maybe. Or a leak boy scene with I can't remember. I think there was 2 scenes. Off somebody.
Yeah.
I think there was 2 scenes from episode 1. And then did it. And I remember the casting director just being Catherine Willis. Shout out to her. She's
Johnny really liked it as well. She
was great, man. She just really, because often they say, like, as an actor when you go into an audition, like, remember that the casting director wants you to do well, that they want to find the perfect person for the role. They want you to be good. But she was someone who just from day one just seemed very much just like on our side and on our team, and just really like really supported us. And then since then she's helped me with a bunch of like auditions. She put me in touch with my now agent. She's great. She's she also cast me in another job. Tell Me Everything, ITV2.
Tell me. Yes. Really? Just from that?
She actually cast in that. Yeah.
No way. It's like 10 years later.
Now about 10 years later. Yeah.
That's amazing, that, Bob. So she's still doing that. That's yeah. 100%. We'll talk a little bit about that later, like I said. But that's crazy that you've just got that role. I didn't know that. That's brilliant, Bob. That's really glad to hear that.
No, but she's been an ally since straight from the off. And then I remember them calling me back for the recalls in the evening, and then they were like, and then I found out I got the auditions I found out I got the job on the Wednesday, and then on the Thursday they put me on a train to Newcastle. I got off the train and they took me to the set into a room where everyone was sat down for the read through.
Was that up in the school?
I just kind of walked in, up in the school, did the read through on the Thursday. We started, them fittings and stuff, started shooting on the Monday. It was bonkers, man. It was just such literally, so Monday to Monday. I didn't hear about the job on Monday, and then I'm shooting it the next Monday.
And
it
you were the
obviously
last
went on
person.
to change my life.
You were the last person to be cast as well. Rhydian was the last person. Like,
apparently they couldn't. They just couldn't. From what I found afterwards is that they just couldn't find, for I don't know, for whatever reason. And then I didn't audition because Catherine, she knew I was in Anubis. Well, she didn't know I'd been like cut, but she said to them, apparently she's like, well, I didn't ask for him because I thought you wouldn't want a kid in another show. And the producer Foz was just like, I don't care. What? Like, why? And then but did it. And then one thing I do remember is that finishing my audition, she recorded me, she put the camera down, and she got her phone and made a text. And I found out later on that she sent a text in, maybe not verbatim, but something along the lines of like, I think I found him, or like we've got Rhydian. It was some kind of thing like that, which I found out later on, which is really is awesome, man. Yeah. And then obviously went on and shot it, and I guess it's changed my life, and just what an unbelievable 3 years. Well, 10 years. I mean, it still lives on, and amazing.
I know, yeah, it's crazy where the time's gone. So did you have to do any sort of, when you started the role, Bob, did you have to do any sort of digging or any sort of like research into like Rhydian's sort of character? Because obviously he was like in the care system, like coming out of that, and maybe, I don't know, like doing any sort of looking into that maybe?
To be honest, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I maybe now I probably would.
Yeah.
But at the time, just young, and I just went off my gut for most things, and I also, I guess, didn't really have time, because it was, like I say, the turnover was so quickly. It was so quick. So I just, I just sort of stuck to, I guess, just follow my gut, and played on that introverted, withdrawn side, and just went from there, really.
What do you think, like, made Rhydian tick? Because that's the thing that I wanted to think about, like, what was in Rhydian's mind? Like, did he sort of had, like, his love of art, he's loyalty to his friends, he had like a sort of fire within him a bit, and his sort of passion for things, but also like sort of being a Wolfblood, his sort of love of, like, the two. Well, he sort of grew to sort of love it, because it was, I don't know, do you think he sort of saw it as a bit of a, well, he did I feel like it was a really strong part of him, but he didn't understand it, if you see what I mean.
I guess, define tick. I think what he always, I guess, wanted was,
like, motivated.
Ultimately, he just wanted, I think he wanted to belong. I think he wanted to, because he felt isolated or ostracized, or I guess left out. He didn't belong anywhere. And then in the first episode, when he's like, well, I might stick around because I want to do things my way, but like, he stays around because maybe there's companionship, maybe there's a pack, maybe there's understanding of himself, because he just doesn't have any of that.
Yeah And it's sort of that's it, because it's like the fundamental thing with Wolfblood is, because sort of the wolf side of it is that the pack animals, and there's like that quote that what Maddie says, like, pack animals don't do well on their own. So do you think that sort of side of you is sort of yearning for, like, a sort of a family?
100%. Absolutely. A family to belong. Yeah.
I know it's just really, I thought it's quite a big question, that, but I thought, what sort of motivated them. So Bob, so did you see that that little character file video that I said? Yes. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I did.
I thought that was great. It used to be on CBBC's website, and then they've took it down now, I think, since Wolfblood finished, but someone's put it up. And I thought, what a powerful little monologue that you're giving that, Bob. I really, really like that, like an introduction to sort of who Rhydian is, and sort of how he says, like, he didn't understand who he was, and also the fact that he sort of would just keep himself to himself because he was bullied for sort of being good at sports and sort of using his talent, and sort of see how lost and how scared Rhydian was at the start of series 1. And I think that
it's interesting looking back, because I half remember doing it. I think we did it somewhere near the end of season 1. They said, oh, this afternoon you're going to be doing this online thing. But it's interesting. I think it's really cool. And what I do like is how CBBC did some of the online episodes and stuff. That was interesting, like extra stuff, because that's what people like as a kid, you like, isn't it? All the extra, you can go online, you can see, like, this
behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I thought they were cool. But it's interesting, because I look at Wolfblood, and obviously I'm aware I was young, but I used to have big issues with looking back and watching my own performances and really disliking them. But I got a lot better. I've got a lot better at looking at it objectively. But God, I did find myself cringing a little bit watching it, being like, oh, I think I'd make a few different choices now if I was given a monologue.
I think it's, no, Bob, seriously, I think it really, I think you really hit like the fundamental aspects of Rhydian's character in that monologue. Actually, I thought it was really well delivered from like what you were trying to put across, and sort of how lost he was at series 1. So
that's cool. I guess he was entirely just, that's it. I mean, imagine like, puberty in that age is like hard enough. Imagine having essentially no one and never having anyone, and also having this big secret and knowing you're different, and it's a lot. Like
of course. But, and I think that's what's really powerful about series 1, and that's why I love Lone Wolf. Is one of my favorite episodes of Wolfblood, just the first episode, because there's some quite powerful bits in it, and that's what really made Wolfblood, I think, a teen show, and also made it appeal to a younger audience, an older audience. Like, when Maddie's saying he'll help Rhydian, and then Rhydian's like, help, I've had a help, counseling, riddling, and like, he's like he's basically there, he's been taking medication because I think there's something fundamentally wrong with him, and that was really powerful, that, I think. Bob, do you think, the sort of going into that?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. It's interesting. I remember that's one scene in particular, that whole bit where, because you got that scene and then the bit after where Maddie runs and then cuts him off, and he goes, what are you gonna do, chase me, stop me? And then he jumps over that fence. I remember that whole bit. For some reason on the day, I just kept messing up my lines. And that's, I remember that so clearly.
You might have messed up your lines before, but I tell you what, Bob, that was one of your best. Like, I think, it was one of my best highlights of Wolfblood. I think and when you made your little monologue as well, where you're saying about what I am, what I turn into, that is better. It's better than anything I've ever known, and I'm not letting anyone take that away from me. I love that.
I think I do love so many of the messages in Wolfblood, because there's so many metaphors and stuff. And the one thing I love is that at the end of the day, like, being a Wolfblood, they're really proud of who they are. And I think that's also interesting. One thing that I didn't really pick up so much up on the time is that Maddie's parents are so desperate to like keep it hidden, keep it like on the low, which you can understand. Obviously, they're trying to be safe and look after their families and their pack. But it's that side of being like, no, this is who I am, and I'm being proud of who you are. Sometimes it's undeniable, isn't it?
Yeah, Bob. I mean, that's why I said I love that scene at the waterfall with you and Maddie. Amy, who when Maddie explains to you, Rhydian, who he is, what he is, and it's perfectly normal to be like that, to have that, and that's a beautiful scene. I really like that, Bob, and it's a lovely location. I've been to it actually a few times because obviously I love walking and rambling and that, and going out walking. So it's it's not too far away from where I live. So I thought, what, I've got to go there. And I've been up that. I've been to that waterfall, Bob. I've walked across them stepping stones.
It's slippery, isn't it?
Bloody hell, it's slippery. You're right. Did you know? Can you remember? Like,
yeah, 100%. Because even when
there's moss on the stones, because sometimes in the winter when all the water flows over it, when there's more water, and it obviously makes it slippery. So yeah.
Oh, it was so slippery, because I did watch back a bunch of the episodes and little bits in prepreparation for this podcast, because I wanted to make sure
star homework.
That's it. And watching back that scene, you can tell like the way we walking is very slow and very sort of like step move, because it is slippery as hell. I mean, that's one thing with Wolfblood in general. So many of the running scenes, so many of the forest stuff, falling over constantly. Oh my god, even crew. He had one of the sound guys is amazing. He just running with a boom. Back so hard, bless him. Creature. He's great. He's good dude. I hope he's well. But yeah, people just falling over everywhere and slipping, and it just became so just common as second nature. Like.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I just going back to what I said before as well, Bob, like the sort of what Wolfbloods represent. And this is what sort of was interesting, what Debbie sort of talked about, is that Debbie has sort of based a lot of Wolfblood as an allegory. So you look at, and I'll talk a little bit to Debbie about this, because she's got like a frequently asked questions page. And basically she was saying about how she was younger, and she grew up in the countryside and that, and so obviously the country setting for Wolfblood, and sort of growing up gay, and sort of like feeling like you're so different and you didn't have anyone to connect with, And I think that's why she sort of thought sort of some of the thinking behind the series, because I was trying to find out who I was, and I was trying to understand, what was happening in me and who I was. And so when you see Rhydian there by himself and sort of like, so scared and didn't understand who he was, and then you had little Maddie explaining, who he was and how he was perfectly normal. And I thought that's why I love that scene, because it really makes you understand that you might be different, but it's perfectly fine to be different. And you might have to, hide something, but it's nowhere sort of as it's not anything like, terrible like that. So yeah, Bob, I think that's, and it wasn't a bad thing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's amazing that Debbie was able to get that across, and amazing that you yourself and so many people resonated with that. I love that. Like, I feel so privileged and I guess lucky to have been a part of that. Yeah, that's just great writing, and I guess that's why we love art or media. And
definitely, Bob. I know.
Yeah,
and I think that really has like helped a lot of people in the LGBT community. Are such a big fan of Wolfblood because of that.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Like, just because like that just sort of like that sort of side of it, and Bob, that it means so much, man.
There's a lot of I guess with Eolas and with like wolfing out and like your first time and all that, there's metaphors all over it. And it's so cool. I mean, I wasn't really smart enough to clock on to some of them, I think, at the time, but then when you discuss it with like the cast, with the directors, and you start to go, oh, okay, and you think, oh, there's actually a lot in this, and then having it be felt or received from the audience when it came out is a really special thing, I think. But it's oh god, it's cool, man. It's really like it's really cool to hear that and have you say that, because obviously it was something that was so long ago, and at the time, you guess when we're doing it, I mean, I was 18 going through my own kind of stuff and trying to figure out who I was. So I at the time, when you're in it, you're not really thinking about the impact that it might have on someone's life, or how it might, you're not really considering that, or I wasn't anyway. So it's amazing, to look back and now and to think that the show didn't just do well, but actually impacted and helped people. That's really incredible to know.
No problem. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, I think really big effect.
Thank you.
But yeah, no problem. Bob really means a lot. So you go on to that and sort of saying about that episode as well, where the leak scene. You're gonna mention that, the leak scene with Johnny and that. What was it like filming that? The fight.
I just remember chucking it in so hard as I could, just launching it over and over again at him in his back. I think we broke the leak and had to get another one and just throwing it as hard as I could, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There's so many scenes when you film, like. There's certain scenes, there's certain things that really stick out. And there was one, I think it's in season 2, when Rhydian like catches a chicken wing, but I wasn't looking at it.
Oh yeah,
throwing me this wing and I have to catch it. And I think it took 16, 17 takes or something, them chucking the chicken wing. People were like, Bobby, just catch it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not looking. It's hard to catch something you're not looking at.
I'm not really a wolfblood, so I can't do it.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard. And there's so many like little things like that because it ends up just sort of being, obviously you film the scene, it's however many setups or shots, but that me throwing the leak is one shot. So you do that loads of times, or like the chicken, boom, that is just the one. There's certain shots that are so much fun that end up like just sticking with you and having to do a lot or whatever. And man, just so funny, just like Leak Boy. And then I love that just as an insult or whatever. Hilarious.
Yeah, Johnny.
I mean, Jimmy was such. Watching back, I'm like, God, Jimmy was just a little asshole.
He wasn't he? Wasn't he such a bloody arsehole at the start of
Johnny does it so well. He's just so like, love Johnny. But he just does that character, that so he's just brilliant. I mean, I love it.
He nailed Jimmy really well. And,
100%.
That sort of making that character and sort of really got up. And that's he was one of the main antagonists for series 1. And then obviously it was like sort of like, we really hated each other's guts through a lot of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's funny. So yeah, Bob, but saying about Lindisfarne before, what was it like filming on Lindisfarne? And did you enjoy it?
I think we because we stayed. I just stayed. How many nights did we stay over? I can't remember if we were there for a week or just a few days. But we knew that, like, we've been told that once we go there, the water, like, you have to go there once the tide comes out, the water and the road disappears and stuff. So there was a real sort of mystery around it, I guess. And we went there and we filmed for a few days because we were just on location. Mm-hmm. But I loved it, man. I mean, there's nowhere. Sorry, excuse me. There were so many amazing locations and stuff that I didn't necessarily take for granted, but like places that we shot, which were just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And Lindisfarne's definitely one that stuck out. I remember because that was, that's season 1, isn't it?
Yeah, season 1. Yeah, because it's Maddie's first transformation on there.
Of course, yes. And there's a scene you'll notice that we filmed it in the day. It's supposed to be at night, and you can very easily see that they put over the.
You can see the filter.
If you look back, you can see like shadows on the floor, and you're like, why are there shadows in the nighttime?
It's moonlight, Bob. There was a full moon.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, there was a ton of amazing locations. Yeah, Lindisfarne was beautiful, man.
Like, what did you think of, like, the Northeast as a whole?
I loved it, man. I mean, I loved Newcastle. People were incredibly friendly. I mean, House of Anubis was in Liverpool, and I was like, the North. I was like, the North's fun. Scousers are great. Yeah. And then I went to Newcastle and was like, oh my God, this feels like I'm part of Newcastle. Somehow it feels like a village where everyone knows each other, but they can't possibly. But it's just, loved it, mate. And so, everyone was just so friendly. I had such an amazing time. Obviously, the nightlife was great, but even outside of that, just a wonderful place. And every time we go back, it's just great. It's wonderful. But I didn't know there was so much like woodland and so much nature and I had no idea. But
I know.
So many of the sets were just gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, like filming in Blanchland, what an amazing place out in the Pennines. I love going to Blanchland and going around that, and that's obviously Stony Bridge in the change the name for the show. It's the reason why it's like that is because it's actually owned by like this Lord Crew, which was like there was a Lord Crew, but now it's sort of like I don't know how to say, maybe like an association, and then they literally own all the village, and they literally let bits out, let houses out and that, and so it's remained unchanged for like years and years and years. So it just looks like that. And it hasn't changed like a bit for like centuries, pretty much.
Yeah, it's bonkers. It definitely feels like it's sort of stepping into the past. Like there's no phone signal. I mean, we go there and everyone would try and jump on the Wi-Fi. But it was crazy, man. It's bonkers, so quiet. And I mean, bless him, because living there, you probably enjoy the quiet, and then a whole crew would rock up with rowdy young adults howling away.
I don't know what's hit them.
Exactly. But we loved shooting there. It was beautiful, man, because there was times when you'd have breaks on set and you'd go for like a walk around, and it's just wonderful. And then it's so close to like the moors, which apparently there was meant to be way more scenes up there, but just weather, we couldn't get up there. And fortunately, we could get there for the end of season 2.
Yeah, I know. It's a beautiful place, and like the Pennines is fantastic for filming because I go up there a lot myself, walking, because it's literally on my doorstep. Because obviously I'm from Newcastle, for people who didn't know, if you can't tell from my accent. So that bit of the area is beautiful. Blanchland's just on the border. It's just in Northumberland, and the fact is, like I said, it hasn't changed. But
great place to go walking. But there's some great history around there. And Bob, there's actually, I don't know, they probably couldn't have got permission to film in these. Well, for health and safety, they might have got permission to film outside or whatever. But there's so many abandoned farms and like buildings around there as well. Because the lead mining was massive in the Pennines, so there's loads of abandoned lead mines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was loads of, like, in the Victorian times, but they're still there. And then there's a lot of abandoned farms as well. Like some great places. But yeah, it would have been great if it got up in the Moors more. But if you're filming in March, it's up in the Pennines.
Bit tricky.
It's a bit tricky, definitely. But I think the thing is with you might not know this. You might not know this, but in the churchyard there's the big St Mary's like abbey in Blanchland. It's near the Law Crew, and there's a grave in there, and because it was quite a famous murder in the Blanchland area, so the most sort of spooky story. There was quite a famous murder in Blanchland in the Victorian period, and called sort of the Snowball murders, because he was called the young lad. The family was called like Snowball, and the second name. So there was the abandoned farmhouses where he was murdered still there, and like Belmont farmhouse. And I've been to them all. I've been walking to them. There's like, it's like something out of like a Harry Potter book. Some of them, like there's another farm there next to it called Pedden's Oak, and it's called that because a horse thief called Pedden used to climb up the oak trees there and hide, and they named the farm out of. But yeah, the farm next to it's called Belmont, and he was murdered there, and there was only the maid, his dad, and him who were there up in the Pennines and remote farm, and they never found who murdered him, but they think it might have been interesting. But and he's buried there in Blanchard graveyard. So that's
blimey! Yeah, I didn't know
spooky
that
story. But yeah, I went and seen that. It's a little sort of side history, but yeah, it's got a spooky history. There's bits of
that's very cool.
Yeah. So yeah. So in series one as well, we'll get this extra who, they think, oh, right, he's in an episode. But Sam Fender. Sam Fender's in an episode of Wolfblood and that.
Yeah, nuts.
I know it's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
was that series one? I feel like that was.
It was Manny's cool, because he goes and asks her to the.
Yes.
Can you remember? He asked her to the party. I don't know. Rhydian's got a bit of competition there.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
No, he was a cool dude. I mean, it's obviously fantastic musician, and what he's gone on to do is amazing. But he was, I remember him just being, a cool dude. Really, we didn't actually speak all that much. He had a few days where he came in. I can't remember how much time we actually had together, but I remember him being cool. Seeing what he's done now is, hats off to him. And I love how he just seems totally genuine, and you got to respect that. He just seems like such a normal bloke, and so like
really don't know. I
what a guy.
I went when I was in Berlin. I went to see him there, Bob, before, and that absolutely fantastic, because he was doing a European tour. So I missed him here, and he was super talented and give a fantastic performance in that. But it's crazy he's gone from that, but he's struggled a lot. I mean, with his growing up and that, and with mum and that, and that's what he's wrote a lot of his songs about. But yeah, really, really genuine guy.
Seems it.
Yeah, and so. Right. So yeah, Bob. So what do you think about the that great scene about where you run and put the trophy on top of the school?
What series was that?
That was series one as well. That was just after. I think that was Linda's farm. When you're having the detention with Mr. Jeffries, and then you run up the. Well, you stunt doubles, but the run up the side, but then you're actually on the roof, aren't you?
I couldn't, because I was looking for that, and I missed it. I couldn't think, because I was thinking, is it the football trophy?
It's just a generic trophy, I think, Bob, because what it is, I think it's the episode. Is it the dark? When there's the dark, it's the episode with the dark moon, I think. So basically is that the one they go and have a bit of fun before they lose the powers for the dark moon. So I think it's the one where you get taken to the hospital, I think.
You get taken to hospital.
Can you not remember, Bob? We get you collapse in the drama class, and then they take you to the Freeman Hospital in Newcastle. Can you not remember?
No, I actually can't remember that. It was, mate. It's so weird. 'Cause so much.
Yeah,
Of it
I know.
it's so long. It was so long ago,
But do you
and
remember
there was so much.
filming on the roof and that?
Yeah, I remember there being a trophy on the roof, and I remember going up there. I actually, because always I was like, I want to do more of my stunts, and they were like, absolutely not. You're clumsy enough as it is. we got professionals we can pay to do stuff like that. We'll keep you at a safe distance from any hazard.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. So I loved stuff like that, man. Like,
love doing stunts and that.
Yeah.
And did you sort of enjoy that sort of bad boy? Well, it's a bit sort of overused, but Rhydian did sort of have a bit of a bad boy image. Do you think?
He was, yeah. Do you know what? It's weird because I guess he is a bad boy in that sort of cliche or that kind of archetypical way. But I never really just saw him like that. Yeah. To be honest, I always thought he was more of a loner. But I guess it's that mystery that creates sort of the bad boy illusion. But to me, he was not really like that.
Because that's what I think. I think he sort of has a bit of a persona where he's sort of like a bad boy, but actually you see in Wolfblood, he can be like incredibly kind and like incredibly thoughtful in that as well. And you know, like the way he's sort of loyal to his friends and he sort of like sticks up. Sure. And I think that's one of the, you think, Bob, that's one of the core aspects of Rhydian's character, is that he's sort of like fiercely loyal.
Yeah, I imagine he's got his guard up entirely, but then once he lets you in, because it's that sense of belonging and wanting, and that's what he's always looked for, is someone to sort of have his back. So then the least he can do is have someone else's back, you know.
Yeah, definitely, Bob. I know, and sort of you can sort of see that in the show, definitely.
I'm pleased.
Also, you know, in Eolas as well, that's sort of another thing that we talk about with like representation. So, say like, I think personally, I think it's quite a good representation for like maybe going out drinking, because maybe not like drugs, because you can sort of say, because it's sort of, the show sort of encourages its use, if you sort of see what I mean. So, but actually, if you go out, if you're sort of drinking, it sort of like says it's all right to go in moderation. But then, like, you know, Maddie obviously goes like crazy, and then she goes off and, you know, runs off to Newcastle and that. I mean,
ends up in the city, didn't she?
In the city and that. So I'm saying I think it's quite a good one for drink, personally. I don't know what do you think, Bob?
I always sort of associated it with drugs, only because it was felt like it wasn't allowed. But I guess it was in moderation. But then, because Maddie's family are just against it, aren't they? Which, so I always sort of associated it with drugs. I think also because alcohol is accepted in society and sort of drugs aren't. I think it was just another. Yeah, but I guess it's all that type of thing, isn't it? It's all just like learning how to control these like these mind altering states. And what's interesting, I love the fact that with Rhydian, because he has that scene with Angela or with Mrs. Smith where she's like, "Why do you not want to do it more?" And he's like, "I don't know, just doesn't really take to it. Like, I don't care that much." And I love that, like, because it's again Rhydian just sort of just sticking to his guns, and just Rhydian has always been way more secure and self-assured than I have ever been. He's always like absolutely just
Bob.
So it's true. Like he was always absolutely like just would do what he wanted to do, and was secure enough in himself to just be like, no, or I'm gonna do that, and just you gotta respect that.
I do. You know what I really like about Rhydian, Bob? I love his sort of fire that he has in him, and he's sort of like his impulsive sort of nature that he can have. You know, he's got a great sort of like, you know, I want to do this, I go and do it. And I think an element of that, actually, I think that's great to have an element sort of impulsiveness to do things and think, you know what, I'm going to do this, something that I haven't been putting off, you know, like, you know, say like zip wiring or climbing or going out and pushing, you know what I mean, like pushing yourself to do things. I think that
life is for living, man. There's such a breadth of experience out there. Go and experience it. I'm all for that, for sure.
So I really like that sort of side of his impulsive character. It's really good. And then at the end of series 1, Bob, the Rhydian, you know, he leaves, his mom shows up, and I think, can you remember that little monologue that he gave at Bernie's which is actually the post office in Bradford, but it got turned into birdies. We've got to talk about birdies for a minute as well, actually. But it got turned in that, and then he sort of delivers the monologue because like Bryn comes and sort of tries to like sort of explain what Rhydian is, but then obviously they think he's just like not all with it, so they sort of take the mick out of him. And then Rhydian gives that great monologue about, you know, you see someone different to you and you treat them as a joke, because you see anybody different to you and you treat them like a joke. I think that was a really powerful scene.
Well, it's so interesting because when you're that age, when you're at school, like being different is seen as something I guess bad or negative, and it's true. People who tend to be different tend to get I don't know, bullied or treated maybe not so nicely, or it's seen as a negative. But then, you know, as you get older, everyone wants to be different. You don't want to be, and it's so weird how that changes and when that happens. But yeah, if it's another way that Wolfblood can positively influence kids, or you know, the way encourage kids to back themselves and be themselves, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, and did you feel like that that sort of ending in series 1, where, you know, that the secret comes out, Tom and Shannon find out they're marrying Rhydian or Wolfbloods, and they sort of show that they can trust them in the end. But that's actually, I'll talk about that scene where you had to persuade Shannon to stop that uploading your wolfing out onto the internet and sort of go public with it. You know, when you're sitting in the window frame and you're
right.
You can remember, and you're like,
but roughly.
You climb up and you like convince Shannon like not to upload it, and then like Tom convinces her not to upload it, like you're wolfing out.
Yeah. Tom's the best, man. Tom's so like steady the whole way through. I mean, Shannon, like, obviously she's amazing, but she definitely is like a bit rogue. And then Tom is just constantly there for everyone, just always trying to do the right thing. Love it.
We'll talk. Yeah, and I have to think, I really like Tom. He's sort of like a character that really tried to like unite everybody, and
always,
you know, and like with that, like, you know, the football episode where you go and play football and that, and then, you know, when you get, because you save the goal, you know, you do it, well, you jump over, stop it going over, and stop it going over and smashing the window, and then you manage to actually get on the football team, and you had that. I thought that was a great episode, that, and then Burgers and Birdies after it.
Amazing. Oh, that was so fun. We got in because they got in a real football team to play opposite us, as they do, because they need lads to play football. And initially they went, okay, what we'll do, we'll just record some of the match. And obviously we're just, I don't know, 11 actors who barely know how to kick a ball. Put us on the pitch and they went, right, go. And the other lads were like, right, come on, boys. And they literally pass down the wing, cross it in, goal. Start getting the ball. We didn't touch the ball. And then they stopped. It was like, no, okay, what we need our team to at least have a bit of the ball, or like, and I was like, what did you think was going to happen? Obviously we're going to get smashed. I mean, we all took the mick out of Kedar, because Kedar struggles to kick a ball. He spent, I mean, I danced a lot, but he spent way too long dancing. He's got he'll hate it if he ever hears this. He did a play recently, and he was playing football in it. Me and Johnny. Yeah, it was brilliant. You did?
Yeah, I went to see it. It's
brilliant, wasn't it?
What was it? Have I got
Red Pitch.
Red Pitch.
Yeah.
I bought the play. I don't know if I've got it with us, but I've got the play in that, and I went to see it. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Brilliant, yeah.
Push the
Kedar's football skills are definitely improved over the years.
Yeah, it was, but it was a cracking episode, that. And then
that was really good fun. I just remember having to jump around because they needed to film me. I was jumping around, landing on crash mats, and all that stuff's just so fun. Just chucking yourself into it. Like, no.
The goalkeeper in that.
Man.
And it looked like great weather you had for that episode as well. The sun was like shining.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so good.
It looked like, and then I love that where, you know, it's just such a lovely end of that episode where Rhydian, Tom and Mario all walk off to the end of the field and you go for burgers and birdies. It's just like happy days. They need more happy moments in Wolfblood like that.
Yeah.
It was such a nice little ending. I really like that episode. Anyway, did you saying about that actually, Bob? You're sort of like, obviously your dancing experience, but I heard that you had to get like choreography lessons for like Wolf, like being like acting out.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not choreography less. I guess it because we had like when we did a stunt. Obviously, there's like sort of choreography, the way you like move through a sequence and stuff. But the wolf, I don't know what you call them. It was like it was really eye-opening for me because having not gone to drama school and only ever done like acting classes at like my stage school when I was a kid, it was the first time I was surrounded by adults and proper actors who were like good actors, and seeing, you know, looking around the room and they were like, okay, right, you're a wolf, so let's growl. And you know, the wolf, they have the senses that they've got a nose that's a lot stronger than humans, so everything's down and sniffing and doing that. And you know, I remember looking over at Kerith and you got Alan and they're like just so serious and so in it, and I remember looking around being like, oh wow, they're like committed even now. This is good. And it was just such a new experience for me. I felt so green, and so a lot of that was just spent. Obviously, I was trying to figure it out myself and getting, I guess, in my body, but so much of that was just looking at those guys. But it was really helpful because that led, you know, throughout the series. Then there's just all the time because I'm quite like, and my posture's terrible anyway. I'm leant forward, plus I've got my bumper here, so I'm very like drawn forward anyway. But it was always good to know that I could like to lean on that, and it was really helpful, man. We did that at the beginning of every series to get anyone who was a Wolfblood all together, and we did these workshops, I guess. I don't know how I should call it. They were really good fun, man. It was really good time.
And you know, Bob, I think you're fully reminded us that because in series 3, I think, or it might be series 2, you can tell that you were like picking up a little bit extra thing, because if you watch, it's just that you must have just ad-libbed it, but it was a great little touch. You're walking down the corridor with, I think, Yana and Shannon and Tom, and you walk past a bin that's like open, and you give a little sniff. You give a little sniff of your nose when you go past it, like you scrunch your nose up a bit, and you were just on the side there. It was like Shannon talking or something, and I thought that was just a great little touch,
really,
like, constantly being in character. Yeah,
you gotta try, man. You gotta try.
Like, it was just such a good little touch, but you know, it was like just like it is. Yeah,
that's really cool. Good. I don't remember that myself, but sweet. Obviously it was definitely intentional. I definitely was wasn't an accident.
Series 1, I think you got an award at the end of series 1, Bob. I'm not sure. Series 1, series 2. I don't know. I'm not sure really about it. I haven't heard of that. Of course, you get your BAFTA, Bob, for best performer.
I did, series 1. Madness.
It's fantastic that you won that, Bob. I bet that was great. What was that like?
It was weird, man. Now I look back on it with a lot of pride, but I guess at the time, because I was still going through my like whole, you know, because Anubis wasn't like the first job I've been cut from. I've been cut from a lot, and you know, I've always had hang-ups about my talent or my ability, and to be honest, it was such a shock to win it, and I hadn't actually considered the idea that I might, because I was up against Amy, who, well, Mr. Tumble is incredible what he does. Because he was up. I can't remember who else we were up against.
You're up against Hacker. So it's
was it Hacker as well? Was it Phil?
It was Phil, right? You're up against Phil.
I love Phil, man.
I know, I love Phil. But I grew up watching Hacker.
What him and like Warwick, who's Dodge, what they do, they're so insanely talented. And then obviously, Amy, and she's just working opposite her all the time. She's incredible. And there was, I hadn't considered the idea that I would, I guess, win it. But the thing is, I don't know. It's like it was the shows as like it was like as much as mine. I don't know. It's really I don't know. It's weird, but it's at the time. I wish I sort of I mean, I guess I did it. I did enjoy it. We had a wonderful evening celebrating afterwards, but at the time there was just a lot of I just thought I just didn't deserve it, and which is a shame. And I guess it's not, I don't like to really have regrets, but I guess looking back, because I definitely could have enjoyed it more. because I remember my producer was one of the first people after I won it. You sort of go backstage or sort of a little interview. You sign a contract to say that I can only give it back to BAFTA. If I want to sell it, I can only sell it to BAFTA for £1. And yeah, and then I come out, the first person I saw was my producer, and he was just like, can you just start believing in yourself now? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then didn't for ages.
Was that false?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Bob, I'd like to say to you, yeah, absolutely deserved that 100%. Your performance in Series 1 was fantastic. And all I'll say is, Bob, there's a reason why you won that. And it's because you performed. And that's why you won Best Performer, because you were phenomenal. And Amy was phenomenal as well, but it's nothing to say. I mean, to say Amy's performance was fantastic as well, but the judges must have just really liked the way you brought Rhydian to life. And, you know, and you, like you said, you won it for the show as well, Bob. At the end of the day, it's a team effort, isn't it?
100%, like all day long. Yeah, definitely.
And
well, that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate that.
No, Bob, but yeah, no, don't doubt yourself there, because you were fantastic in Series 1, and there's a reason why you won it.
Oh, thanks. Well, do you know, I look back, and I'm proud, because, you know, now I can look back at Wolfblood, and it feels. I just realised I learned so much through it, and even glancing through the episodes, I think, oh god, I really think I improved throughout the series. I just became a better actor, as you do. You know, it's still a muscle that you work and, you know, learn the craft, I guess. And but no, I am proud of it, and like since then, because that's the thing, I used to hate like watching myself. I used to be like, oh, I hate it, and then I realised. I had a little screening of the first episodes, and I could barely watch it. I just can't stand watching myself. And then I realized that this just wasn't helpful. And I was like, well, okay, let's actually start looking at it and pretending it's like not me. Like, what don't I like about it? And then, you know, I started to look at it and go, okay, well, actually, I don't like this. And I was able to sort of take a step back, look at it objectively, put my ego to a side a bit, and just start actually, well, maybe we could work on this. I started like watching more, and I have the script supervisor, Colleen, on House of Anubis. We got chatting, and she was like, because I hadn't watched anything, and she gave me this big list of movies, like, you should watch this for the director, you should watch these actors, you should, and started actually just learning and sort of studying and watching stuff, and actually starting to get into the industry. And that helped a lot. And then, yeah. But it's been an interesting journey, and it's like, but these past few years, I finally put it to one side and been going to acting class and being like, okay, no, I think I have something to offer, and also just realizing, like, being comfortable enough to just know that you're not going to be right for every role, and you're not going to be amazing every day. Like, that's impossible. And just knowing that you can take it on a chin, and you can have another go, and just trust your director, and it's the best you can do. You know what I mean? Not everyone's going to like what you do. Yeah. And that's that. Yeah.
You know, Bob, if you could, you could tell you were like so amazed that you got it, and you got up, and then you for your BAFTA speech, and you thanked.
I didn't say anything.
You thanked the cast, you thanked Amy, have a good night, and then you went. So I was thinking, Bob, you know what? If you could make your speech now, what would you say?
That's a good question. I remember at the time just not knowing what to say. I think I thanked Amy and everyone involved. I would probably do that again. I mean, I would tell Amy there and then that or her and everyone else, that it's theirs as much as mine. I would probably thank my family and my friends, because I didn't do that either. And then thank the fans. And just everyone who's watched the show, and just I don't know, and just I
say something about like how you sort of, I don't know, maybe on your sort of how you sort of enjoyed bringing Rhydian to sort of life, because it was the best performer award, wasn't it? So you know, that's sort of your performing there. So
I don't know if I would have. If I could go back and do anything, I would have just thanked more people.
But really thank more people,
because I am grateful because there's so many people that are involved in creating a TV show, you know, and then and even Rhydian, like, but to be able to act amongst all those guys, they're so good, and to be with them every day to just push you on, and so I just have a lot of people to have thanked a lot more people and been less hesitant. And if I could change anything.
That's great, Bob. So Bob, we'll get to, so there's a little secret episode of Wolfblood that not that many people know about, The Scapegoat, which was that secret web episode, and I think it was the first episode. I think, did Jermaine direct it? I think it was the first episode of Wolfblood he directed, and it's it's the one where it shows like Rhydian, when you take Yana to the into the town, you take it into the sort of human world and that, and that's the secret sort of web episode. It's called The Scapegoat, and then you get like sentenced by the pack, and you get tied up in that, and they're all gonna leave you there.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Can you remember? So
I do, my long hair.
And your long hair, and then your fantastic long hair, and then you had to sort of, and then your Kerry like sort of comes and like cuts you free, and then that's sort of where series 2 picks up. But there's that great scene where you're like running at the end when Kerry cuts you, and then you like snarl at the camera. If you can remember doing it, you look very wild with your long hair. You're like your yellow eyes and everything.
I don't remember that snarl. I remember doing that. Yeah, but funny times. Yeah.
Great, and it was just an online episode. I don't know if it's not on CBC's website anymore, so I don't know if people would have just had to watch it back in the day. Maybe there's a few bits of it on YouTube, but yeah, it's good.
Possibly.
So, yeah, what was it like when you heard that you got a second series, Bob?
Oh, buzzing! So happy.
Yeah.
And to hear I was actually in it, because that was the thing with Anubis, is like you find out there's a second series, but then my parts, I'm going to move to Australia, so it's nice to actually be in the whole thing. Yeah.
Did you worry that you were getting sort of like written out, because you do like leave at the end of series 1?
Yeah.
So
no, I knew
but you were going to come back.
I guess there probably was a little bit of a worry because there is an out, but I think they were, once it went, they were like, no, you're definitely coming back, which is nice. But yeah, I don't know. When you get the second series, and then it was when we started the second series, you start to be like, it was during the first series that you start to go, I think this show could be quite good. Everyone's really good. Actually, the script's good. Like, you've got all because you never know what's going to be good, what's not. You don't know how it's going to look when it comes out, but you start to go, actually, they've got a bunch of good different ingredients here. And it seems to be, let's hope when it comes out the oven, it is, it's cooked just right. So yeah, and then by the time second series come around, we were all like, oh, let's go, let's do this. This has been popular. This has done really well. And that just gets you more pumped, and everyone better, and you feel like you can just, there's none of that initial, obviously you still get a bit nervous, but you're way more familiar, you're way more comfortable, you've got more confidence, so you're like, okay, let's crack on.
And
then series 2 obviously led to the best scene in the history of children's television.
Yeah, of course, that leaving scene, bloody hell. It's like, it was amazing. We'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, that sort of starting at series 2, and, that you're filming that, and it sort of shows, I think, to be honest, Bob, I think series 2 was the strongest series of Wolfblood on the whole, if you look at all of them. That's my opinion. I think brilliant. You got all the cast still there. You had some great storylines. I think the fact that it was sort of localized in, there was sort of emphasis on like the wild wolf bloods and sort of like the pack, but also that sort of thing about like Dr. Whitewood as well. I think that was balanced really well. I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I think they might have went a bit too far out with Segolia in series 3. I did like a lot of series 3, but I think series 2 is just one of the strongest for me, definitely. And
definitely
really
with Segolia, it suddenly changed the whole feel of the show, doesn't it? Because it's taking it into the city, and that was just not what the show was used to. But I guess it has to evolve. It had to evolve, and but that's cool. Yeah, I guess I don't know which would be my favorite series. I just know that they end in series 2. Just when we were doing it, I was like, oh, this feels like magic. Yes. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. And there's that funny quote actually that I said about the intro with the start of series 2 that I sent me about Debbie, where she goes, Rhydian's there was like a tweet along where we're watching like a live episode, and they did a tweet along, and then Rhydian's the troublemaker. He's always the one that's going to get everyone else in trouble.
Yeah. If Debbie's saying it, it must be true, you know.
Must be true. But I don't know. Maybe being a bit harsh on you. But I think to be honest, he just didn't end up like living in the wild, and he came back. But yeah, it didn't work for level. Also at the start, there's that saying about the last episode and the first episode. There's sort of Chekhov's dog chew, but you see about Chekhov's gun, which is like if it's not there, it's not meant to be there. But Maddie gives Shannon gives Maddie a dog chew at the start of series 1 for because they understand the wolf out and they've got the den and that, and that's the dog chew that Liam picks up and gives to Dr. Whitewood that reveals that's just a wolf.
Very cool.
So I thought that was, and then you raid my university, Bob.
Yeah, I remember that was a fun day. Just having to just record me just running around all these different labs and stuff. I was like, that was awesome.
That was crazy. That was well fun. That's my university, Bob. I study at Northumbria University. So I've literally had lectures, not obviously in the labs because I'm not doing site, but I've had lectures on the ground floor where you sprint down and Dr. Whitewood chases you. And I was thinking, bloody hell, imagine if I was at university then and there's little film in Wolfblood there, and you pegging it down the corridor after you nicked that dog chew. Yeah, it was a good episode, that, and I really like it.
Yeah, it was a fun change of pace, to be fair.
And actually, what was it like filming that? Going underground, which was one of the last episodes of the series 2. They had where you're sprinting through the river.
Through the rivers.
When Alric's chasing you.
And then we got the scene with Alric, and I've got a scene with him in the caravan at the episode 13. Maybe that's the same episode. Yeah, that was all good fun, because I remember us being all wetsuited up under our uniforms, trying to stay warm, because so much of the northeast is freezing.
Yeah, well, you filmed it winter too, so yeah.
I felt bad for Amy. Series 1, she had these tiny little canvas shoes, so whenever we were in the forest, her feet were just freezing. They were so wet, and I feel bad for her, because I luckily had a pair of boots. Oh, bless her, I feel bad. But no, all that stuff, all the running stuff, all that stuff was so fun. I mean, Alan's great. I mean, a phenomenal actor.
Yeah. What was it like with Alan?
Amazing, man. Because I really, again, being green, I think I sort of wasn't aware that you could be, nice, a lovely person, and play someone horrible. I guess that hadn't really occurred to me, that people were acting and you're doing, and just seeing him up close, how terrifying and how intimidating he was, and how
he was a good body.
And then how genuine and sweet he is in real life. You're so he was cracking. Everyone was awesome. But that, I remember the scene in the caravan after I did it. I remember just being I think that was one of the some of the best acting. I remember feeling really present and really starting to feel differently in scenes. And I remember really coming out of that scene and being oh, that felt really good. That felt really alive.
Yeah, it was very powerful, because it changed so much, didn't it, Bob? From Alric, basically, I mean, it got pretty dark, didn't it? I mean, he pretty much wanted to kill Rhydian at the start of series 2, didn't he? And that for a kid show as well, the sort of teen show, I'd say it's still pretty dark storyline, and that, I think you sort of captured that well, the sort of transformation of the relationship, from going from they hating each other because of Yana, relationship with Yana and that, and then sort of going to sort of having a very sort of moving scene together where you say that Rhydian couldn't live with himself, that he sort of seen Alan break in front of him.
Yeah.
That's why he thinks that he's seen Yana when he's actually seen Maddie,
Maddie,
I think that's cool. Very, very powerful scene, Bob. And I think do you think that really sort of changed your view on Rhydian a bit at the end of series 2? You could be really emotional as well, with terms with Alric.
I'm not sure. I always thought of Rhydian as quite emotional, really.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing,
that's the thing. He wasn't scared to show his emotions. He had this sort of like alpha male persona on the outside, but it was very thoughtful on the inside.
Yeah. So no, I don't think that was necessarily a big moment in terms of. I think
maybe I'm
he like learned
more
to
trying
forgive.
to say, yeah, like he's matured, maybe.
Yeah. I think
That's
because he like stopped holding a grudge so much, you realise, and he actually starts to forgive people for their sort of mistakes, and yeah, he definitely matures.
Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing that I like about Alan. See, looking at like the Alric storyline, because if you think about it, right, Rhydian was born in the wild pack. He was taken, and then obviously he was taken into foster care. And but if you think about it, Rhydian and Yana was about the same age. So if potentially and there wasn't that many other members of the pack of the wild pack who were that age. So you could assume, Bob, even if when you think about it, that if Rhydian had stayed part of the wild pack, he would have potentially grown up and been together with Yana, and then he would have grown up and sort of inherited the position as the alpha male of the wild pack if he sort of got to. Can you see what I mean with Yana? If he hadn't been taken into care, he would actually
thought about that. Yeah,
because that's what I think. It's weird because if you think about it, Rhydian was meant to be with Yana in a way. If he'd never been taken out of care, he would have grown up with Yana at the same age, and then there would have.
Yeah.
When Alric died, he would have probably took over as alpha male of the pack if they were together.
Yeah, or would he? Maybe he would have.
Or maybe not. I don't
survived
know.
differently in the wild. Who knows? But yeah, no. Yeah, I guess it's interesting to think that. I guess I hadn't. Well, maybe I did think about that at the time, but I haven't thought about that in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that sort of thing. That's why the love triangle happens with the sort of like Amy, Leon. Well, with Amy and Leona, but with Maddie and Yana, the sort of trying to, you can tell there's a lot of Maddie's not very happy, sort of that. It turns out,
it all gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah, and especially because Rhydian does. Why do you think Rhydian doesn't mention Yana at all at the start of series 2? He wouldn't. I don't think he would have mentioned her. It wasn't until she turned up. Can you remember?
Well, I think there's a reason why he doesn't mention that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think exactly. Maddie represents everything that Rhydian's always wanted. That security, that home, that he's sort of like first love. But that's one thing I loved about the show is that the whole will they won't they, and it really. I almost loved the fact that it never got explored. You see the whole time.
Really, Bob?
Don't get me wrong. It would have been, but the thing is, it's only because it has been done. Like, it would have been cool maybe to end up seeing it, but the fact that it's always just there without, and it's sort of talked about by everyone else, but it's only at the very end you get like sort of a love you and a kiss, and then they go, and you're left being like, oh my god, and it's just
very
different.
Powerful. You're right. It is very powerful. I mean, I think to be honest with you, I think both the fans would have liked to get a crumb of just a little bit of a nice being together, but they didn't even get the first date, Bob.
No, they never got
out to be that famous, like you remember. And what do you think? What do you think Rhydian would have done with Maddie on the first date? Would have went out to Newcastle or something, or maybe just in the.
They would have gone to some all-you-can-eat buffet and just chowed down on all the meat they could find, and just gone to a butcher's and.
Raided a butcher's together.
Exactly. That
would have been nice. But it is. So I mean, let's talk about filming the scene up in the moors for the last scene. So it was with Matthew Evans was the director, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I've heard Johnny said he was a fantastic director, and I've heard you say he was a fantastic director. So
amazing.
Say a little bit about filming that last scene, Bob. It's a beautiful scene up on the moors. We've got the sunset going down, and I always say, I've said this to you before, Bob, but that scene where you're like walking off at the end of the scene, and I don't even know if it's intentional or not, or it's just what happened, but you just see Rhydian turn around and wipe his tears away, and can you remember I told you, and he's just like wiping his tears, and then the screen just fades to black, and then Rhydian, Tom and Shannon just walk off, and it's so powerful, that scene, I think, and the music as well.
The music in that scene is amazing.
The composed for it as well was beautiful. So I mean, what
it was
tell us?
Really, because we've been waiting to get up there to shoot, hadn't been able to, and then they managed to get it for this final day. We went up there and it was like, wow, this is amazing. And Matthew, because he's very calm, he's wonderful being in his presence. He's someone that just makes everyone just sort of relax. He's like very smooth. And he was just like, we only had, because of the sunset, we had like an hour. We had no time. And he was just like, we're just going to have to move quickly. But he goes, as we just move through, I just want everyone just to just remember where they're at, what they're going through. And one thing Matthew would do when he'd given that to give you direction, he would always, instead of coming over and be like, oh, maybe you do it like this, or I did like, don't like how you do that. He'd just ask you questions and try and like plant seeds and hope that you would find it yourself. And he would just let you kind of go there, and he'd just keep asking questions and let you find that and develop that. And it was so interesting to I'd never worked with anyone like that before. And I remember in this scene, and he just allowed us to just sort of do it, and it just happened. And everything, I mean, we only did, I think we did sort of a wide and then just come in, but we did move quickly, and people sort of just said like one shots. I think we just nailed through it. And I just remember being there being like, whoa, this is just getting emotional, man. Because that's the thing, because you know, you're also saying goodbye. You know, like Amy's leaving the show, you're saying goodbye to her, and that comes out. I mean, that's what happened for me, like in series 3, like saying goodbye, like just those are actual my tears. It's me saying goodbye to the show. It's me like, and it's so weird how, because I guess when you're acting, you're sort of accessing parts of yourself, and on that last day, because I absolutely loved doing the show, and it's such a huge part of my life. So then to say goodbye, and then once, for me, you know, I opened those doors, tears I just flooded, and I was just uncontrollable for like the hours we were shooting that scene.
Yeah, I know. Bob, and it must have been pretty difficult when Amy left. Do you think, you know, that sort of your main officer?
For sure. Left, and she's just a huge personality. Like she's mad, like in the best way. Like adore her. But yeah, to not have her around was gutting. But you know, I guess you have to. We move on. But yeah, she's, I mean, still a great friend, and yeah, weird not having her there. Big I know. Dynamic change.
Big chunk, big change. Yeah, and what do you think about so series 3, Bob? So we'll get series 3. What when did you first hear we're going to get a third series?
Buzzing, and then I knew that. I remember having a chat with Foz and some of the other like execs at CBBC, and just being like, oh, I guess, like, you know, I'm gonna have to step up now, and it's a bit nerve-wracking. And
Foz become the main character, basically, don't you?
Yeah, and Foz was like, yeah, you're just gonna have to step up. Like, you got to carry it. Like, I'm sure you will, but yeah, you've got to. And he's just been like, oh, okay. But yeah, the show definitely changed. And then I'm glad. Do you know what? Looking back, it would have been so nice to maybe do another one, or to like do a couple more. But to finish how we did, and we really wanted. One thing we were all very conscious of was to make sure we left the show on a high. We didn't want to like run it and keep doing it and it's really cool, like the direction that the show went in, and obviously the way it was like taken over. You got new Wolfbloods and stuff, was great. But we were, so I think the original cast were really pleased with just the way that we went. And don't be wrong, I think now looking back, we all would have been like, we could have done more.
Yeah. But because you could have went and seen them go to like sixth form, and like say if Bob and I had a sixth form, there's another 2 series there.
Well, that was the thing though. They needed to stay in school, and that was a big problem they had, was that they wanted to keep them in school, but we were all getting older. Yeah. So then it was maybe like, how do they navigate that?
College or something, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, it's a shame. And also my obviously we'll get, I think, probably the biggest baddie of Wolfblood, Sean Dooley, who was obviously playing Alex Kincaid in that. Yeah, so it was my irrational hatred of Sean Dooley after seeing that. Because I first seen him, it was funny because it came out in 2015, so 2014. So I seen him in like a First World War thing called Our World War that he did before like Wolfblood. And then obviously he was in Grantchester. With you. Did you see him in Grantchester when you were?
I didn't. We were all entirely different days. Yeah, because I was only up in the prison. Oh, such a shame. I would love to see him. But yeah, no, Jermaine got me and him in, and I mean, you know, my calendar's fairly free, so it was buzzing at me. But I know Sean is a busy man. So Jermaine was well chuffed.
And what was it like? So it's very dark, sort of plotting character, Kincaid, and you know you can see that. Like I talked to you about, you know, when Tom takes the serum there, and he's like, you realize afterwards that it was actually he got the serum that actually sort of saved Tom, but you can see him sort of like noting things down and noting information down when you go and like ask him about how he got that serum and you know what is it, and like how he sort of like was plotting, and then how he's so fake because he was like, you know, trying to make this relationship with Rhydian when in reality he was just out to like sort of like do medical experiments. Exterminate Wolfbloods.
So, very dark, man.
It did. Series 3 got very dark very quickly, didn't it? Like towards the end. Do you think that, Bob?
For sure. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it got intense. But
it was like they got like basically kidnap a bunch of people. Well, like literally would have been you were playing kids, so you'll basically like kidnap kids, put them in the bloody cellar of a castle, and then do like kill them. Well, it's a way sort of like killing them, but you're like
for sure, killing a part of them. Yeah, oh, mate, bonkers. It is heavy stuff. I remember just being like, but obviously it's all righted in the end. So
it did. And what do you think? What do you think Rhydian would have done if he'd actually been like? If they actually did kill his wolf?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, I guess just that, a part of him would have died.
It would have been, do you think he would have been able to deal with that? I mean, it's like, because that's what I say about this story arc, Bob, with like the start of episode 1, series 1. He says, it's like, part of me, it's like, no one's going to take it away from me, it's who I am. And then at the end of series 3, he nearly does get it taken away.
He nearly does, yeah. I mean, God, I don't know how he would have handled that, to be honest. I don't know how anyone handles that. Like, it's a big old not even a sacrifice, it's a big old thing to try and handle. It's your who you are being like ripped out and taken against your will. That's horrific.
So, and then I sort of gets it, sort of interesting thing that I sort of talked about with like sort of like what's medically ethical as well, and talking about things like that. It's sort of allegory for that as well.
Touching on it's touching on big issues, man. It definitely makes you like, I believe it started some conversations and people asking questions, just saying that hopefully that it or I believe that it, you know, started conversations and made kids ask questions, and that's important, man. I think that's you know, that's what you want. You want to be involved as an actor, or I do anyway. You want to be involved with things that are meaningful and and impactful, you know. And again, it's just
but and what was it like, you know, Bob, when like you made the decision to leave Wolfblood?
It felt like the right thing at the time, because you know, we had 3 amazing years, and I'd also done Anubis, so that was a bit before, and I think I was ready to try my hand at some more like adult stuff. And you know, it's been different now. Work is starting to come in a bit more, which is I'm very grateful for, but it was a big adjustment that I don't think I was entirely ready for. But I missed that's the thing. It was heartbroken as well, because like I say, on my leaving scene, just those are Bobby, that's Bobby crying.
You really went for it then.
But I didn't plan to get like that emotional, but it just happened, and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna might as well use this, and I just sobbed, and so did Louisa and Keith. Cry, and we were all just there crying, because we all know like, this is us saying goodbye to the show. This is our little baby. And
it is, Bob. And it's like when I went to when I go around Blanchton sometimes, and I've stood there where you left at the top of the village, and it's a fantastic shot because you get all of Stony Bridge in the background,
right in behind,
and then you see obviously your mum, and then your dad, and Shannon and Tom and Jan and that, and I thought that was really powerful because you're actually saying goodbye to them for real as well. And then obviously reunited with Maddie in Canada. So where do you think? Where do you think? I mean, obviously Amy didn't want to come back, but I think it would have been nice if Maddie had sort of come back to Stonybridge and sort of come home, and maybe you could have done that in the Wolf Film or something. I don't know, but it is nice that it got reunited nonetheless. And
no, I know there was. I mean, we all would have liked to try to make that work, and because that's the thing. I think because Amy wanted to as well. Amy would have loved to, but there was, there's all stuff going on. I know, but Amy would have. I think Amy wanted to. We wanted to try and like round that up differently, but I mean, who knows? We all were like sort of banking on there being a film one day. Even though I don't know if maybe the ship's passed, but it'd be interesting to see adults.
It's never passed, Bob.
Yeah,
I've got to get that Wolfblood film. We're gonna get that Wolfblood film.
But Wolfblood who are like, I don't know, see them as adults and see what they are up to and how they're living now. And
yeah, it's true. But I mean, there was some talk about. Was there any serious talk about it, or was it just?
It got told about a bunch. I mean, I don't know how serious some people were talking about it, but I know that there's a ton of people who are passionate about it happening, myself included. I would love that. It'd be so fun to revisit that, revisit Rhydian and discover him again. And
it would be great to see you back.
Yeah, it would be so good
to see you back as Rhydian, and it'd be great to see your film back up here in the northeast, or maybe coming back to Stonybridge or something like that. I think it would be amazing, man. And I think looking back 10 years later, Bob, I think now's the time perfect to do it if they were going to do it. So
wow.
I think it does.
Maybe we'll have to get Debbie Moon on the phone.
Debbie, are you listening? We'll want the film.
Yeah.
And see whoever, get you any other CBBC producers on the phone and that as well, Bob. But yeah, and it meant so much to people, and people loved you as Rhydian, Bob. I think, and honestly, Bob, what I can say is he's one of my favourite fictional characters. I absolutely loved your performance of him. Looking back, all his story that he told as Rhydian, his character, how he developed, how he changed, and sort of like his sense of like he's proud of who he was and he wasn't going to change for anybody. I love that. And that was so powerful, Bob. Really,
I'm so glad. Thank you, mate.
Really enjoyed it.
I'm really pleased.
Really enjoyed it, Bob. So yeah, and then obviously we're like saying run out of time, but it's been great. It's been great to have you on, Bob. And I mean, just quickly say about this, you've done some fantastic things, like Dunkirk, went with Christopher Nolan more recently. That was amazing.
God, what a dream!
Yeah, man. Did you love that? And then working on The Outpost and that as well. That
film. That was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah.
Learning how to shoot guns and then trying to do, people justice who, gave up their lives. And again, like you're trying to do something meaningful. That was really powerful to do. And
and it was crazy as well. Like you were filming actually with like Daniel Rodriguez, who was actually there at the Battlecam dish.
Yeah, I was playing his best friend.
His best friend in front of him. Like, imagine living that out again. That's like something beyond acting.
Oh, mate. Oh, God.
That's
amazing. Mean, that's a proper story I can tell you for another time. But
we'll see that.
He was stunning to work with, and just sitting there and just seeing him act and being like, oh my God, it was amazing what he was doing. And then I was like, you just reliving this? You've had all these conversations, you've done this stuff. This is mad. And you start going on this whole trip. Weird. But he was unbelievable, and to play his like best friend and stuff. And what was weird, he was like, "God, you're goofy like him." You were like, there's similarities, even though, I mean, Thompson was like,
you're Kevin Thompson,
6 foot. He was 6 foot something. And so I don't think physically we were quite the same, but he definitely said he was like, you two have some real freaky similarities, which was interesting.
That's really powerful, that, Bob. But yeah, and so yeah, Bob. But yeah, and then just say quickly about you're on Tell Me Everything, which is the new show that's coming out. You're playing a character called Brett. Yeah,
play Brett. Comes out later this year. Check it out. Hopefully, it'll be on fairly soon, depending when you're listening to this. That should be cool, man. And then got a few other things in the pipeline, so watch this space.
Yeah, Bob, can't wait to see you. Bobby going from strength to strength, man. It's great to see you succeeding. And it's great to see that like Wolfblood really helped you sort of get your career.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah,
it's taught me a lot, and forever grateful. And thank you for carrying on the
1 sec, Bob.
To carrying the fandom.
Yeah, no bother, Bob. It's like great. I thought I had to do this for 10 years after, and it's great to get to know you. Because, like, just say quickly, me and Bob, like, I worked on The Track, which is a short film on homelessness, which your girlfriend did, Bob, called it, and I did like play the homeless man and that. And mate, have you got anything to say to the fans just as we're finished now? 10 years later.
Well, first off, George, mate, it's a pleasure. You're a gentleman, and I look forward to seeing what you do in your life. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you achieve. And then second off, with the to the fans, just thanks. I'm glad you loved the show as much as we loved making it, and who knows, maybe one day there'll be a film. All of you'll always be part of the pack.
We'll always be part of the pack, Bob. And I just got to do the wolf over there. We're going to sign off like that. But anyway, Bob, sure. Thanks so much, man.
No, anytime, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. And, the fact is that, when I watched Wolfblood the first night it was on in 2012, and I didn't think I'd be sitting, I've been with the show since then, and I love the show, and I didn't think I'd be sitting here talking with my favourite fictional character, talking about Rhydian, to the character, the actor that actually played him. So it's been a great journey, Bob. And
life is a funny old thing, mate. Let's just sit back and enjoy it.
So glad I've been able to get know you, Bob, and work with you on the track filming and just
same, mate.
Yeah, it's been absolutely great, Bob. Bob, thanks so much, man.
No worries, mate. Anytime. It's been a pleasure. It's been really nice.
Give Bob a follow on Instagram, everybody, as well. He's back on Instagram. We've done it. He's back on Instagram.
Yeah, get me back.
Yeah. It's Bobby Lockwood. Is that your name on Instagram?
The Bobby Lockwood.
The Bobby Lockwood.
Bobby Lockwood.
Oh yes. Yeah, so give Bob a follow there. But yeah, great. Thanks, Bob.
No worries, man.